What taxes foreigners and expats pay in Ukraine? I already have a video on my channel where I'm talking about what taxes individuals pay in Ukraine, but I did not specify what taxes expats pay in Ukraine and when do they become a tax residents of Ukraine. Hello, my name is Kristina, I'm a lawyer, and let's find out what taxes foreigners should pay in Ukraine and when do they become a tax residents of Ukraine. Foreigner citizens who are considered a tax residents of Ukraine are taxed under the same rule as Ukrainian resident citizens. An individual is a tax resident if his permanent home is in Ukraine. If an individual has a permanent home in more than one country, he will be considered a tax resident of the country with which he has more personal or economical tie. For example, he will be considered a tax resident of the country where his family live or where he has some business. If it's not possible to determine a country in which an individual has a center of vital interest, then the rule of 183 days apply. What does it mean? If a foreigner spends in Ukraine more than 183 days per year, then he will be considered as a tax resident of Ukraine. If tax residence still cannot be determined, an individual is a tax resident if he is a citizen of Ukraine or if an individual self-recognizes a tax residence. For non-residents, only revenue earned in Ukraine is the subject to Ukrainian tax. Once you are considered as tax residents of Ukraine, you should pay a tax for your worldwide income. If a person is non-resident but has some income in Ukraine, he must pay same taxes as Ukrainian citizens. If you work for a Ukrainian employer, they will deduct taxes from your salary and transfer them to the tax authorities on your behalf. So what taxes do employees pay in Ukraine? It's 18% personal income tax, 1.5% military fee, and 22% single social contribution. I will leave a link to the video where I explain more about taxes that individuals pay in Ukraine. All taxes that I talk about in that video also apply for the expats. Common in Ukraine is the practice of registering individuals as an individual entrepreneur, thus reducing taxes. What does it mean? Instead of working in a company as an employee, person register himself as an individual entrepreneur and work with a company not on the basis of employment contract but on the basis of service agreement. As an individual entrepreneur, he has a right to choose simplified taxation system, a single tax, and pay 5% of income instead of 18%. Plus 22% of single social contribution. In 2021, it is 1,320 hryvnia. On a single tax, there is another option in which an individual entrepreneur pays every month fixed taxes. In 2021, it is 1,200 hryvnia and 1,320. This amount changes every year. There are different groups on a single tax and each group has its own certain restrictions. I won't talk in detail about each of them, I just want you to know that there is such option. I would like to emphasize that register yourself as an individual entrepreneur instead of employment in a company takes some risk. For example, such a person loses the right to be protected by labor legislation. I will finish here, and if you have any question or need an advice, write below in the comment on to my email.